and I was about to talk about power. Here's a powerful man.
Oh, I wouldn't
Chuck
go that far.
Freeby.
Are you a movie buff?
I am. No, if you're going to give me a quiz.
There's no quiz. I scarred you for life with one quiz.
Won the Oscar for Best Actor in 1948.
I don't know.
The only reason I asked is because one of my favorite movies is It's a Wonderful Life, that 1946 Frank Capra classic starring Jimmy Stewart. It's always shown at Christmas time. Well, I couldn't help but think of this movie as I read the gospel account of the conversion of Zacchaeus. It is in chapter 19 of Luke where we hear of how Zacchaeus, the chief tax collector, climbs into a tree because he's so short and he so desperately wants to see Jesus. And Jesus calls Zacchaeus down by name and says how he wants to stay at his house. And when they all saw this, they began to grumble, saying, "He's gone to stay at the house of a sinner." But Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Lord, "Behold, half of my possessions, Lord, I shall give to the poor, and if I've extorted anything from anyone, I'll repay it 4 times over." And Jesus said to him, "Today, salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a descendant of Abraham. For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save what was lost." Now, folks, if you think the IRS is bad today, they have nothing on the tax collectors in Jesus' time. Zacchaeus was, to put it gently as possible, an outstanding success in an unsavory business. He was at once feared and despised. And this story would be like if It's a Wonderful Life focused not on saving George Bailey, but on saving Mr. Potter. Who would want to save the ruthless, crotchety old man in the wheelchair who ran Bedford Falls? Well, Jesus would, that's who. The Son of Man came to seek and save what was lost. When George Bailey tells Mr. Potter that, "In the whole vast configuration of things, I'd say you were nothing but a scurvy little spider," well, as George says, that goes for you too. We all have those unlovable moments, and for some of us, the thought of our redemption goes beyond our imagination, and certainly the imaginations of those around us. But then think of Zacchaeus. When people complain he's not worthy of Jesus' attention, Zacchaeus remains undaunted. He makes a public declaration of his guilt, and before all states his intention to make reparation. He didn't do it to win a popularity contest, because that wasn't going to happen anyway. As Mr. Potter said at one point, "I don't like them and they don't like me, we'll call it even." He did it because Jesus gave him the opportunity to start anew. Think about it. If it was tough for George Bailey to feel love when he had this wealth of friends, imagine what it's like for Mr. Potter. Powerful but crippled, feared but unloved. And while we can certainly understand why God would send an angel like Clarence to take care of George Bailey, really the story of Zacchaeus shows that Jesus himself would come to save Mr. Potter. And he comes to save each one of us, no matter how miserable we may be. Dissatisfaction with this world's pleasures and the love of divine truth, those are the things that drove Zacchaeus to climb that tree. He sensed accurately that Jesus was his one hope of a truly happy and fulfilled life. Willingness to break with his past and to make a new beginning, paying the full cost of honesty, came easily for Zacchaeus once he heard Jesus' voice inviting him. Because whether you're Zacchaeus, Mr. Potter, or some other miserable wretch who once was lost, Jesus wants to find you, and a life with Jesus is truly a wonderful life indeed.